Hello, and welcome back to the Market Mamas podcast. We're really glad you guys stopped by. My name is Becky, and I'm here with Kendra. We are futures day traders from the West Coast, just about 3.5 years into our trading journeys. We created this podcast to have a space to offer up constructive conversations that might help other developing traders learn, grow, and feel supported, as these conversations do for us. Because Lord knows, day trading is truly an incredibly challenging pursuit, and so we just really wanted to support whoever we could in that as we're growing through it as well. So today, Kendra is going to do a recap of her most recent week as a trader. I'm so excited for you to share with everyone not only how your week went on the charts, but also, girlfriend, a full marathon. Like, badass. You just ran last Sunday. So let's get into it. Tell us everything.
For sure. Okay, so for the new viewers that don't already know us, I'm a runner. I wasn't always a runner, but it was actually just this evolution that started out of me wanting to give myself an outlet, a break off the charts after my morning session. Quickly turned into me just really loving the consistent daily physical activity, how it supported the challenges with managing my mindset and mood that fluctuates with day trading each day. So I've been running regularly now for over a year, and earlier this year I started racing. So I ran a couple 5Ks, 10K, 2 half marathons, and my goal before 2024 was to run a full marathon. To be honest, I don't know how I got to this point, like from then to now. Becky has been here for it all. I was looking back through our DMs, when I was building up this reflection for today, and it was in July of 2023 that I messaged her. I was so proud. I had jogged around the park just 2 times nonstop, and so this was a big achievement for me at that time, as again I was never a runner. So I've been somewhat active all my life, but never an athlete. And this year I've transformed into what is actually called a hybrid athlete, as I've learned to continue combined strength and endurance training into my daily lifestyle. And this was another evolution, as I realized that I loved running, and running an hour a day was great in the moment. But thinking in terms of the long game, I really needed to give my body what it would need to help prevent injuries and just to be able to run for the rest of my life.
Right. We are not in our 20s anymore. So we're like having to figure out how to approach like a growing, aging female body and what that looks like for the longevity of our health. Because we have kids still, and like we have so many more goals to like keep knocking down. And so physical health is something that it really behooves everyone to like pay attention to and be cognizant of and work towards in some manner or another that speaks to you. And so I totally get that. Like this moment, we think about exercise differently as we're coming into more advanced years, because we want to set ourselves up for a most successful down the line when we get into the elderly years. Like as a nurse, I'm like, you can prevent osteoporosis and strengthening your joints, and like nobody wants a hip replacement. And so it's like, in general, now is the time in middle adulthood to really dial in what speaks to you so you can have like longevity and health. And you have done a killer job. Like you used to, you really have evolved and grown with this. So I am so proud of you and impressed and inspired. And I can't wait to hear how the actual full marathon went for you, because not a lot of people can kill that, girlfriend. Like, tell us.
Yeah, it was something. So I've said, right. Yeah. First experience, first time for everything, right? I said before, I find so many correlations with challenges and complexities in trading and in running. And so this race was no different. A week prior, I got an injury on my run during training, and it was an instant bummer. Thankfully, I had literally started the audiobook Mindset Secrets for Winning, how to bring personal power to everything you do, that morning as I started out my run. And one of the passages that really hit hard went, nothing has meaning except for the meaning I give it. So right after I hit the ground, missing a trip hazard, and my knee, the same one I've suffered from runner's knee before, took the impact, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Of course, my mind wanted to go into panic mode, that I was not going to be able to run my marathon. Everything was for nothing. I wanted to cry, but I refused. And like the book, I refused to give it that meaning. I accepted this would change how I go about training for the remainder of the week, but I was going to run that race regardless and choose to channel gratitude that I still had a full week ahead to recover. So it was just a classic example of how external forces sometimes are just out of our control, but we always have control of how we respond to them. So another part of the book was Feed the Builder and Starve the Wrecking Bomb, which I took as the choice to continue to build myself up rather than allow myself to succumb to doubt and self-pity. I did just that. And I felt stronger leading up to race day. And it was the most exciting, all of the travel and the gear prep, going to the race expo, getting my bib, being in all that big energy of all the others who were also taking on this challenge. I definitely felt surreal that I was realizing and actualizing this goal I had set for myself. Now, in terms of running the race, I started entering what us runners call the pain cave around the halfway mark. My knee inflammation was flaring up. I could feel my toe, developing a blister, and it was just getting more and more irritated. So my pace for the race was really no longer a priority. And I just went into the mode of like, I'm going to finish this race however I have to. And at mile 18, which was the longest distance I had ever ran, I was expressing just a lot of disappointment in my performance, but I was trying to rationalize it being okay. And I think there in that moment, I realized that I give so little grace for myself and proper recognition for the badass shit I do. I mean, literally like 1% of the world's entire population runs marathons. And I was out there on my very first attempt criticizing myself. I mean, goodness, I was already planning in my head how I would do so much better on my next one, which I do love, because before the race, it was still something that I had that itty bitty question in my head, like, am I really going to be able to do this? And then there I was, not even had made it to the finish line. And I was already like, oh, I'm for sure going to do this again. So it was a real time upgrade in my mind and body I was undergoing. And mile 20 to 26.2, I did really try to just be present and just take it all in. The sun had came out. The sideline supporters were getting more and more pumped for us. And it was just such a great vibe. My mantra on repeat was, I can do one more step. My body is strong. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I love running. I love distance. So that helped me. And I made it to the finish line and I got my medal, and it was freaking amazing.
Great job, Kendra. That is some serious badassery and rare. So I love how you managed that and pushed through and handled it. Like, it's beautiful. And it really does speak to, we correlate everything to training, I swear, but like, it really does speak to training, because like, there's so many times where you're like, there's a moment where you're like, just want to cry. And this is so hard. And why am I doing this to myself? I can just stop and I can step off the race and go to that cafe and have a latte instead of like torturing my body right now. Well, we could quit day trading and go sit outside and go for a walk. Like, there's always a time when you're pushing for something really hard that you want to quit and it sounds appealing and easy and you don't. And that's where the true badassery comes through. And I'm so proud of you for showing that in running as well as training, because I mean, real talk, like the market, she can do whatever she's going to do. And we can only control what we do. We can only fine tune our process and keep showing up and adjust how we're moving forward so that we can have the best outcome that we can achieve and then keep growing. So we're going to have setbacks and we can decide what meaning they will have just the same way. Are they going to grow us and teach us and inspire us and fine tune us? Or are they going to make us feel more shitty about ourselves and we're going to take it out on our partner or whatever later that day? Like, there's different ways that we can pivot in these situations. And it's so easy to criticize our performance when we're less than optimal and to hold back from giving ourselves the full credit of a very difficult task and the challenges that we face in trading. Like, it's hard and people quit and we're not, and we're choosing to learn. So that deserves validation. And every time that we choose to learn from our exercises, our executions, our setups, our trading sessions, that is us upgrading ourselves every time we push through and beyond the previous levels that we were comfortable with when we try to start leveraging up or trading a different time or a different setup. That's us pushing ourselves, similar to pushing your mileage, Kendra. So it's so fun. And it speaks to who you are as a person, which is inspiring.
Aw, thanks, girl. I love that you've been here for it all. But it's so true. It counts. Everything counts. Even when we feel like we, didn't perform how we wanted, it still counts, So we have to get better at acknowledging that and celebrating the triumphs and not criticizing them. And I think we had that evolution too when we used to, Becky and I would journal every day, but we would do like a very in-depth, thorough, like sometimes 2-page long analysis of our day. And it was almost like too much because we were like micromanaging every little part of our trading performance. And a lot of times we were reinforcing things that we didn't need to. We needed to just move on from and start fresh. And so this is a great transition into trading. So let's have some trading talk now. I trade the Nasdaq futures index, and I did get back in town this week late Monday evening, and I was pretty spent, only having ran 26.2 miles. So I had not pressured myself to necessarily trade Tuesday morning as I was just getting back to life, but I was watching from my phone all morning and checking out my trading mentors market update charts on our Discord, and it was shaping up to be one of my sweet spots for a potential trending day. Monday had built more value within Friday's value area. So we really had a nice composite value area low that was the closest reference point after open. And that was tested and it held. And so that was also confluent with the positive 1 standard deviation dynamic support rhythm that was already established with an imbalanced up overnight session. So like this is, I'm like saying this right now because this is like my jam. Like this is what I love coming into. So price consolidated around that level for 20 minutes before buyers finally took over, and it went straight up to the previous day's point of control and the high of day. Just gorgeous bullish move. So now the market has made higher highs. So now I was on watch for a long continuation opportunity if price got accepted at this level. So she consolidated another 20 minutes while giving a nice retracement to that POC, point of control level, and it held with hidden divergence. So it was around 5 minutes before the first hour would close. So an attempt to break out of the initial balance was also very likely. We had targets from Friday above the previous day high and had yet to form any bearish divergence on the higher highs that had been made so far on the morning. And I observed this on my 10,000 volume chart, which is similar to looking at a larger time frame. So I use volume candles for my charts. So this is similar to comparing, say, a 2-minute chart and a 15-minute candle chart. So one tip I did want to point out, since I do tend to recognize long continuation opportunities the most, is with divergences, you can also reverse engineer them in a way to see both sides for clues to support your trade direction. So for example, on my 1200 volume entry chart, I saw bullish divergence that provided the setup for this trade. And on my 10,000 volume chart, I saw potential reason that the market would continue to make a higher high. So this is just part of studying and how she moves in congruence with the tools that we use to read her, watching these things play out over and over. And it really just can add to the confidence to trust your trading edge when you're presented with those specific ideal conditions. And I took that trade and it played out for me and it was really nice, all things considered. And I swear sometimes the days that I don't start out my morning super eager to trade, I get the best opportunities. And it's just so funny how it works like that.
Yes. I have to give credit, I swear to God, every other episode, but Jermaine advises us to oftentimes, once you start getting a real trading edge, to just surrender to your process, to not be so eager, like you said, at market open, to just hunt and find the trade and grab it right away. But instead, just like deep breathe and relax and calm your body, calm your mind, recognize that you have spent countless hours learning and studying, and kind of surrender to your skill and your process and yourself as a trader, kind of have faith in your read and let it present itself. And then that is such a better place to execute from. You're more calm. You can focus on your data better. You can make reasonable choices instead of like jumpy, extra executions that maybe weren't fully set up first. And I think that's what you did that day, which is so beautiful. I mean, I also have been like, I don't need to trade. I work overnight calls sometimes. And so sometimes I have that situation where I work until 1, 2 or in the morning. And so I don't get up for morning session, and I'll just sort of get up when I get up, get situated with the kids, and start looking on my phone. And it's like, when you're not actively hunting at market open and the candles are wicking all over the place, you can see, you're like, oh my God, it retested that and it's holding. I should go buy that. And then you do. And it's It's amazing. Those days are amazing.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a good point too, because when you're not like actively at your chart right at open or pre-market watching everything, and if something happens, you don't take advantage of it, you instantly feel like, oh, I'm missing out. I didn't execute well enough. I missed that opportunity. But when you're just watching from afar, it's like, it doesn't affect you the same because you weren't even there to take advantage of that. Anyways, now you can just see it for what it is, which is fresh market data, fresh context, clues to what might happen next. And so it really does put you in such a more neutral headspace, and you can see things better because you're not carrying with you all the anticipation or the maybe letdown or whatever you've been, from when you're at your screen. So it's so tricky. Like, it's so tricky what our minds go through every morning. And so
low pressure. When you do it that way, it's like low pressure. Like you don't feel anxious to need to grab something so that you can mark it down in the first half hour. It's like just chill and see what you see. And then if something looks good, go for it.
Yeah. It is better, definitely. So Wednesday morning, market opened and tested the overnight high, rejected, then pulled that down and tested VWAP, which was also confluent with the previous day POC, and held. And then it stayed trading in that range for the first half hour, just back and forth. I did have a bullish bias due to where price was consolidating, but I didn't do anything but journal. Which really helped me not get ahead of myself. Once she broke that resistance, I took my long setup from the previous day's value area high to the high of day. I wasn't that happy with my entry, but I fully accepted the risk and held through the pullback, giving her the room she needed as my order flow was showing more and more buyers stepping in. So that was good. Thursday was for sure my most frustrating day. Literally have 2 full pages of live notes coaching myself, and I broke even on the day. So direction was just very unclear for me. Total scalper conditions, like tight range. We couldn't even make it fully from the -1 band to the +1 standard deviation band. I had just set myself up with very clearly defined levels that I would only participate at. And I respected those for a full hour, like sitting on my hands. I supported myself, journaling things like, I am patient and purposeful. It's not my job to get ahead and predict. I'm aligning my intentions with my actions. Great work staying out of this. I can 100% not execute a position today. Like, I was in full Coach Kendra mode. And it was past my 7:30 cutoff, and price just still had not visited either of those levels. So I decided to set an alert, and I really thought that I would just be done for my day. However, I did have extra time on my morning because my youngest didn't have school that day. And so right before 7:45, my alert went off, and all I knew was I've been so patient, it's go time. Well, all that patience felt like it was for nothing when my position was instantly red. Huge pullback, way too much risk I had to accept in that trade. I did still believe in it, and my direction was good. But once I got into profit, I was too risk averse now, having overexposed myself. So I moved to break even, and I was taken out. Now, still seeing that the trade was in play, I entered again, was in profit, and again moved to break even. I was taken out. Both times I wanted to hold to my profit target, but not accept risk. And I know that's not a winning strategy. I've gotten much better at not moving to break even as often as much as I used to in my earlier trading. And I really learned that day, when I am doing that over and over in a session, it's a clear signal that I'm off my game. And I think I learned also that a much better thing to do if I'm in that predicament is to just freaking flatten. Because both trades, I could have walked away with decent points had I managed better. But aside from that, I think the greatest lesson was really that some days are just best to walk away, because even extreme patience, can wear down your mental capital just as much as over trading can. So although I waited very patiently, I still wanted to trade.
Right. I think waiting sounds gloriously peaceful, but it's like not in trading. It's like you can feel a sense of, am I hesitating? Am I letting these opportunities go without me? Was that the candle I should have got in on and I'm waiting? Is it really crap conditions, or am I just in some kind of way? It's hard to root it out in that moment. It's hard to always know whether patience and stepping back and not trading is it, or, there's always decisions to be made, and you have to make them very rapidly in trading the first hour or two of New York session. And opportunities can come and go very quickly, considering all things. So I think that the patience was beautiful that you had in that moment. And I absolutely love how you journaled yourself through that first hour of the market, being like, this is not it. I don't like the setup. I can be patient and I can wait for something ideal. But the pressure does build. I understand that so much, because sometimes when I'm like, I don't know if I need to trade, but I kind of want to trade, I will often take a trade, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's hard to always just hold that restraint in, because sometimes then it pops out.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like you said, in that moment, it does make you doubt yourself, because I was doubting that whole time I was waiting. Am I being like too stubborn with my levels? It's like there's being stubborn on a bias and Mark is not doing what you want to do, but then there's also like withholding and then wondering like, well, maybe I should just be trading this range. Like maybe I should just stop expecting, but it's like, so a lot of it comes down to like, you have to be okay with missing out on something that you decided is not going to be your trade. Like, so I had to in that moment accept like, I'm not going to execute until I see these levels. And so it was just, but that in and of itself, because you're seeing, I mean, she's moving back and forth, and it's just like, well, should I like change my whole plan? Like, so it is frustrating, and it can cause like some of that doubt and angst and take the peace away from your trading even if you are being patient and you're not getting caught up in a tight range. So good point.
To be fair, respecting your levels is amazing, Kendra. Like, that is a hard thing to do as a day trader, because sometimes you just are really ready to take, for example, a long position, and it doesn't quite get to your level in some manner or another. It's much, much, much easier to give into impulse and just get into a trade versus respecting and waiting for your levels. So you really are impressive in the way that you can honor your trade plan like that. You do it better than a lot of people, myself included. Kudos, Mama. Like, you're building an empire, and it's lovely to be your partner and witness it.
I'm trying.
We all are.
For sure, yeah. All right, so to wrap up my week, Friday was another awesome learning day. Kendra, who predominantly has a bullish bias, was very convinced that bears had some business to do, and not without what I believed to be good reason. Overnight session was imbalanced down. VWAP was angled down. We opened right on overnight low, and we went lower initially. Price was under the previous 2 days composite value area. My order flow is negative. My 10,000 volume chart looked bearish. According to my if then statement, I was looking for opportunities to short for where price was at. However, we did open and price started to hold, and it started to consolidate around the -2 standard deviation bands. They were flattening out. This is my danger zone, you guys. My data shows I struggle when price is consolidating around the lower band. I got ahead of myself. I tried to push my short bias all the way as she was heading back up to VWAP. And every little sign of weakness, I shorted. I just thinking, okay, yeah, she's finally going to go back down. Of course she's going to go back down. Like, that's the rhythm. Like, that's, I was just so stuck on that. So, of course, I lost those attempts, because that's not what price action was doing. Regardless of my plan, we talked about this in Becky's episode we just did. It's very similar, very, very similar, just on opposite ends, right? So one of the things I needed to give more credence to was both YM and ES were very bullish on their morning. And some days this correlation carries more weight than others, but Friday it was a clear sign that I was not in sync. But thankfully, I was able to get in sync once price did make it above VWAP and was accepted into the value area. Now it was in my trade plan to look for long opportunities. My trade plan was that if price held the previous day POC, that it would attempt the value area high next. Also, that was the +1 standard deviation to +2 standard deviation. And what's funny is that was the same long setup from previous day Thursday that I couldn't nail. However, now, the market does repeat itself. And on this day, I was paying attention to that. And I also had even better price action to back it up. So it was a really good end to my day on that solid trade. I was out of mental capital for sure. And price moved up to one more target that I had. But then it ended up being an inside bar day. So I was very happy that I didn't channel FOMO. And now we have a nice 3-day balance to start off the new week with.
Yes, well done. And pivoting, I really love that about you, Kendra, is that you honor your risk and you can pivot with your brain, and your if then statements are so powerful. I love that you talk about shorting at the -2 band, and it just makes me think every time that I like the bears, but I like mean reversion, I think, even better. Because I'm like consolidation at -2 band, like long, 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 like I love the the 2 bands in general, because they will often bounce, whether or not they do a full like 2-to-2 rotation, they will often pull to VWAP, and that can be such a key trade from a 2 band back in if you can get it at the time that it's ripe and fresh. So anytime you talk about a 2 band, I was like, counter trend, pull the retracement, trade the retracement, and you look for the pull to the 1 band to go. It's so funny, like that our minds are really uniquely beautiful and see it differently, and like see the different opportunities, because both lenses can yield successful trades. But it just, it's what we lean to, and it's so fun to talk trading.
Yeah, so different, but yeah, it's true. It's just it's interesting how we see things differently, and how on any given day, it could be this way, it could be that way. Like, we have to be flexible, we have to adapt. At the end of the day, we have to follow where she goes. That's the goal.
And honor risk management, because she can do whatever the hell she wants. She's in charge of us.
Exactly. Honor the risk management if we're wrong, and just choose to learn and not try to push ourselves, force it. So definitely always learning that lesson. So thank you all for being here with us today. We're super excited that we can, just come on here and be ourselves and authentically share our journeys thus far. It's been a long time for us, just every day, day in, day out. Becky and I shared all of this amongst each other, and now we're, just opening it to you all. We hope that you guys resonate with some of the lessons we have, our struggle days, the things we're trying to improve upon. You can find more of our content on our website, www.market-mamas.com. We also have all of our socials listed in the description. We have an awesome merch store. You guys can go and support Market Mamas. We give back to a women's nonprofit, and we're here for all things trading, all things self-development, growth, mindset. We love to collaborate and coordinate with you all wherever you're at in your trading journeys, or if you just want to come on and bring some value to our show. Let us know, reach out to us. Our email's also listed, and we'll be back. We come out with a new episode every 5 days, and let us know if there's something specific you'd like us to cover, and we'll see you all soon. Everyone, take care. Bye.
Bye.